Holy shit, tonight I'm going to talk about some more shows I watched in a group, this time mostly ones that I didn't finish the first episode of, although there is one exception, which I will get to first. I'm also trying to test out to see if I can get rid of that fucking autofocus that bothers me and everyone else. So here's a quick test. Is it happening? Is it obnoxious? Can't tell, because I'm not looking at the camera screen. Anyway, the first show that I watched that I actually did like was Love Stage, I think is what it's called. Love Stage with exclamation points. This is a boys' love show, and for once, one that I really liked the first episode of. It seems like with most BL shows, then the characters are just like always supposed to be all mysterious and cool, or just seem like they're designed with the fan base in mind more so than they are designed to be like interesting characters. Almost like the character design or the personality of the character comes before actually developing them as a character. This show doesn't have that problem. This just feels like a natural romance story that happens to star two male characters. And it hasn't even really gotten into the romance part yet. The first episode is mostly just establishing the main character, who's a guy who is a total otaku dork, and it happens that he's also really effeminate. It's interesting because even though he is this otaku caricature, and I've seen so many characters like him before, he doesn't feel like any of those characters because he's in such a different kind of show. The way that the designs are definitively like shoujo looking, and the fact that he is, you know, in what I know to be a BL show, kind of makes him feel different than just a regular run-of-the-mill otaku male main character. Which is interesting because of the fact that nothing in the episode actually suggested that he was gay up until this point. It just was interesting that it felt so different just on the basis of the design and knowing what kind of show it is. But anyway, I ended up really liking this character because he's adorable. He is one of the very few characters who's got the shtick of passing for a girl, because that's the thing, is that he was in a commercial when he was a kid dressed as a girl, and now they're trying to do a 10th anniversary version of that commercial where the same actors are all there, and they're playing the same roles, so he has to dress as a woman. But nobody on the set knows that it was a boy all along. But it just so happens that he still looks enough like a woman that he can pull it off. But he's voiced by a man, and that is important to me, because every time there is a trap character in anime, a guy who dresses as a girl, they almost always give them a female voice actress, which means that even though the character is a male dressed as a woman, it doesn't feel authentic. It just feels like they wrote a female character and then lie to you that it's actually a guy in reality. Even in, like, Gatchaman crowds, which had one of the most interesting characters, who was a guy dressing as a girl, at the same time, he was voiced by a girl, and it just felt weird and, like, weirdly inauthentic. And this one feels authentic. He's actually voiced by a guy who's just really effeminate sounding. Something about that I just really dig. I also think that the relationship between the two guys looks like it's going to be super adorable. The opening theme of the show gave me really high hopes for it. Like, the opening video just looked like a great romance show. So I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I'll finally watch a BL show. I don't think I've ever, like, watched one all the way to completion, just because I've never seen one that appealed to me after the first episode, or first few episodes. So it will be interesting to see how that goes. Now, here's a bunch of episodes I couldn't even finish. First of all, Jinsei, which seemed like just a school life comedy. I watched about half the episode, wasn't laughing at all. I was pretty sure it was supposed to be funny, but it was not funny to me in the slightest. And even though the character designs are pretty nice, I don't like the aesthetic of the show. Like, the color choices and stuff just looked off to me, so that was an instant drop. I think my brother Shade might end up liking it, but I don't know what he'll think. It's definitely not as strong as other shows that I think he'll like from the season, so who knows. Then there was Momo Kyun Sword, I think was the name of the show, and I'm pretty sure the plot of the show is that the main character girl has huge tits. That's like it. That's all there is to it. I started watching it, and it was so badly edited that I couldn't take it. Like, it just, the way the, like, images flowed together was so bad that it was, like, impossible to watch. I skipped through the episode and saw that, like, at some point her clothes get torn off, and there was, like, these huge censorship beams across her boobs. And I was like, okay, it's a DVD seller. It's one where you, if you want to see tits, buy the DVDs and it'll be uncensored. I don't know why you don't just buy porn, but whatever. So there's that. That looks like shit. And then there was something else. I think I mentioned before that I watched Rail Wars and dropped that because it was not about trains. It was about high school and tits, and I came for trains and was affronted by a massive fan service, and I was like, oh, this looks really lame. And I don't care about trains that much anyway to stick around for just the train facts. What was the other show I dropped? Oh, it was Magi Moji Rurumo, something like that. A new JC Staff show. And this is one of these, like, JC Staff has a lot of these, where it's like a light, I'm assuming it's a light novel adaptation, because it looks like one, and they've done a lot of them. But they basically have these shows where they bank entirely on the character design of the main character, and that's, like, supposed to carry the whole show. This is one of those cases. The opening scene is just showing this character, and she's like a witch girl who just literally, like, stands there. Like, she's completely static at almost all times. She just stands there holding her staff. It shows her from, like, every conceivable angle, and she's super adorable. I mean, the character design is great. But then you get to the opening theme, and it's like a lot of shots of her just standing there. Here's, oh, did we mention how adorable this character is? And then after the opening, there's literally just a static shot of her staring at the camera that was, like, where they'd put the sponsors or whatever, but it was just there for, like, 10 seconds, and I was like, I think I get it. But the actual content of the show was horrible. It was just this really stupid attempt at, like, perverted comedy, but it was not even, I can't imagine it being funny for anyone. It wasn't just a matter of not being funny. I couldn't picture a way in which it would be funny. I cannot imagine anyone watching this show for any reason other than that the girl is kind of cute. And in that case, just fucking look at a picture of her. Like, buy a poster or something. Maybe the figures will probably sell, but I'd be more tempted to buy a figure of that character if she was just a character design and not attached to the show. Kind of like how I'm glad, like, because I have a Blackrock Shooter statue, and I loved the character design, and then, like, they made the OVA, and it was good, and I was like, cool. And then they made the TV show, and I'm like, if I had seen this show, I probably never would have bought anything Blackrock Shooter related, because it was so bad. That's how I feel about this one. Like, if seeing the show makes me lose interest in the character design. Anyway, that's all the shows that I watched today, I think. And episode 2s are going to start coming out this week. So, yeah, look forward to that.